Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by Living Waters Abide Ministries. With host and founder, Richard Case, and co-host and retreat leader, Kathy Ricconi. Today is our special guest day, where we will hear from a friend in the ministry who will share their insight and stories on truth in this chaotic world. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Guest Thursday, and we have very special guests that have actually been on the podcast before, Diane and Antonio. And I'm going to let you pronounce your last name.
Malaquias. It's the equivalent of Malachi, the last book of the Old Testament.
Okay, good. We can remember that. So we're excited to have you on and update us with some great stories. And Kathy, maybe you could go ahead and make a more formal introduction, and then we'll have them talk a little bit about, remind everybody of where they live and what they do, and then we can get into some stories.
Absolutely, yes. So Diane and Antonio are fellow New Hampshire friends, and Diane and I have been friends for quite a while now, and both of them are just such a blessing, truly. Just the way they walk with God, the way they seek after Him, and she is probably one of my favorite encouragers and cheerleaders in life. We just enjoy each other's company and enjoy bringing each other back to Jesus's feet. And Antonio, for anyone who doesn't remember, works at Lint Chocolate, which means that Diane brings us chocolate sometimes to group. So that makes her even more encouraging and wonderful in our world. So they have some great stories. They have recently moved, and I know that's one of the things they're going to share, the story of how God led them. But boy, there's been some just amazing things that God has done in their lives and is always doing in and through them. So excited to have them back on to share.
It's kind of funny. In Colorado, we frequently see your advertisements, and they're doing a big deal right now on Easter with the bunny that they're showing pour. And you're the guy that makes that all happen, right? Well, we love having you guys. And first of all, just tell us again about how many years you've been married, where do you live, and talk a little bit about your what you're doing right now with your Lint and other things. Then we'd love to hear some of these stories, particularly of how you wound up moving.
Yeah.
So we've been married almost 13 years now, and Antonio has been, your anniversary with Lint is actually coming up this month.
Yes, the end of the month.
His job sounds wonderful, like he just eats chocolate all day, and
That's the job I want when I retire. Is I'm going to go and work for you, and I'll sample. I'll be the sampler. Yep, that's good. Yep, nope, that's not good.
Right.
It would be a dangerous place for me to work, though, just knowing that there are nibbles around.
Yes. He, oftentimes people will say, wow, how do you keep your form when you're just eating chocolate all day? Of course, it's a lot more than that.
Yes, it doesn't work like eating chocolate all the time. You have to think about the ingredients. There's a decision making and a lot of discussions with the team. So it's a fun job. It was my dream job, and I'm doing this for almost 40 years now.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is your role there?
I'm the director of quality for Lint North America. So I'm responsible for the quality of Lint chocolate in North America and all that is exported to other countries as well.
Okay.
Which gets to involve
you are the
some
guy
fun
that you are the
travel,
guy
too.
that tastes. You are the guy that tastes it and make sure it's good, right?
Yes. myself and my team, we do that type of work to make sure, because Lint is qualified as premium and primes for excellence all the time, which is interesting because that kind of leads me to think about our spiritual lives also. Instead of just going by, it's considered not to be the regular, the usual chocolate. It's the premium chocolate, and we do everything for that to continue to be on the move towards excellence. And our spiritual lives is the same thing. Right? It's sweeter, it is better if we prime for excellence.
Amen to that. Beautiful. Dan, how about you? What are you up to?
Well, I have been working on this beautiful home and property that the Lord blessed us with right at about a year ago now. And I also care for our grandchildren. We have a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old. who are now, since we moved, about an hour and a half from us, and I drive to their place. It's a full day, but I love doing that.
Oh yeah, that's fun. Great ages for them. How are they doing? How are the kids doing?
Yeah, they're doing well. Our 2.5-year-old weighs only maybe 2 pounds more than her big baby brother, who's a 6-month-old. So he's a sweetheart, but he's a handful for Nana because, of course at 6 months there's no help, support from him. So he's like a little bowling ball.
Yeah.
For me to carry around, but it's fun.
I want to just insert something else that Diane has been doing, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like maybe you started this around COVID time or something, but she actually leads a life group that is international online. Ladies from all over the world that come together and just share Jesus and encourage one another. And I don't know if you want to share a little bit about that, just because it's so unique, how that developed and what it's really doing.
Sure, absolutely. Yes. It's been over 4 years now that we call it the Happy Tuesday Life Group, where we meet on Tuesday mornings early. And we do have some ladies that are from Hong Kong. One is from London. And then all around the United States, some of us have been blessed to meet each other in person as well, which is really special. But it is amazing how close we have gotten. We meet by Zoom, of course, but how close we've gotten in the sisterhood that we have been able to develop because we have, the Lord in common.
How did that group come together?
During COVID, I was watching Life Church online, and they have their main campuses in Oklahoma, and they have life groups in many states around the country at their permanent locations, and then of course online. And so I began this particular life group, and shortly after I was on, the lady that was the leader needed to step aside from being the leader and ask those of us that were in the group who might be interested, and I was. And it was quite a process to go through Life Church, which is encouraging. Not just anybody can lead a group. And so I went through that process, and that's how it all got started. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And it is so beautiful. And the process of being able to use Zoom as a technology for Bible study has been amazing, because even where we go to church now, since we've moved to this location, we're an hour and a half from where we go to church. And of course, we still want to participate in Bible studies and life groups and encouraging others. And so my group, this last time we just finished this session on Esther, was by Zoom. And because that was, of course, more simplified for me, but it was very helpful for several ladies in the church that don't drive after dark, or, of course, with the very unstable weather here, sometimes the in-person groups get canceled because the weather is bad, but we never had to cancel. We stayed right on track. So it's a blessing of this technology.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It sounds like how many ladies are in your group that meet every Tuesday? Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Overall, we probably have 15 on a regular basis. I would say 9 of us are on there very consistently.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, that's an exciting proposition to see where that's going to go as you keep giving it away. That's this is the essence of the covenant, really. So you're blessed to give it away, and God said, "How about you?"
Yeah,
that's fun. Well, I know that you mentioned that you went through a process about a year ago of moving. Why don't you walk us through that? All the way from the very, 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 very beginning. What prompted you to even think through that as like a possibility, and then take a step by step by step? And this would be a great example that we try to help people understand of God has a will. It's very specific. It's unique to you. And as he starts to move you into that process, it's not, make it all happen and I'll see you later. It's how did you follow that into the fulfillment of that? And of course, then as we know, and we'll talk about this probably in number 2, particularly now that you're there, that's not the end of the story. So now what, and so that'll be fun. But anyway, why don't you guys both share with us how it started and what went on as you started to process that decision?
The way it started, God put in my heart about buying a big property. And it was odd to me because we were in a season of our lives that we didn't see the need of having a big home, a big place, high maintenance place. We financially were in a place that we could retire at that point, if we wanted to, and just be completely dedicated to the ministry. And I kept on telling my wife, I said, God put in my heart about this big property, and I don't understand why, but it keeps on coming back to me. And Diane, she's not the type of person that likes the woods, be away from the city. She needs to have like a Walmart nearby.
Because the Walmart within 10 minutes, because I know it's civilization.
Did you guys ever remember? This is an old TV show called Green Acres.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that.
Exactly. Like he was a city guy and she was a city girl and he wanted to be in the farm. And it was a story of how that works. So it sounds like kind of that's where you were.
Yes.
Yes. And I was always sensitive to, to her preferences, her desire. We always try to find a place that fits, both of our needs.
Yeah.
We pray together before we make a decision. And I continued to look at like a big properties in New Hampshire, and she was not completely there. So I was praying, asking God, Lord, if this is something this vision that you put in my heart, if it is for Diane and I, give us confirmation, lead us on the direction to reach this vision, because it's something that would generate a lot of work. The bigger the property, the more work that it is. We can get to that in later on or another time. There's a lot of work to be done, but that vision was there, and probably I looked for properties for a good 3 years. With the real estate market the way it has been, it has been almost impossible to buy a property at the listing price. Everybody's paying more than that.
Further at that point, on a probe a little bit further. So you had this vision, and it was on your heart, and you began to seek God and discuss it with Diane. It wasn't that I have this vision, we're going to go make it happen, which is the way I used to operate. Hey, we're going to go do this. And so you did that. So Diane, from your side of it, as that's processing, and you said, it's a couple of years of looking anyway. What was your perspective as you considered making that potential change that is just in discussion process? It's not going to, you're not ready to fulfill anything yet because you're looking for God's will. But what was your perspective on it, and how did you approach it at that point?
I really was at peace, even though, I wasn't getting the same vision that Antonio was. I, of course, trust the Lord, and I trust my husband to, be in communion with me and in prayer with me and in an agreement, and knowing that at some point, we would be on the same page, even though we weren't.
Yeah. By the way, again, you weren't on the same page. Was that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we have been exercising to enjoy the journey and always share with each other, and not panic. And I can give an example. I saw this property, and it was like 30 acres. I was so excited about it. I said, Diane, you need to see it. So I took her over. She said, this is not it. I'm not feeling my spirit. And the first time I got disappointed, because I was so excited about it. And I just said, Lord, if this is for us, we're going to give peace in my heart and peace in my wife's heart. If we don't have peace, we are not moving forward. So it didn't bother me, and we had some other experiences, and they were the same way.
Yeah, and again, we just want to highlight that in your shining example that you're seeking God's will. You're not in agreement. First of all, that's okay. It's actually good because that leads you to God's will. Like you said, it's like you got excited. Ooh, this could be it. This looks good. And I don't feel that.
Not so much.
And the beautiful thing that I admire, really, what you're just showing us is that, Antonio, you received that. Mm-hmm. It was, like you said, disappointing because it got, something excites you, and that's a good thing. And you think, hey, this could be it. But unless you're in unity, you received it and said, okay, we got to keep going. And you didn't lose your peace in the process. And then 2 is that understood something. And we tried to tell this to everybody. You just didn't yet know God's will. Mm-hmm. And that's how you approached it. It's like, well, we don't need to let it ruin our life. We're going to keep going, but we just don't yet know God's will. Okay. So, right. So Diane, continue with, how you're moving into that.
Well, I'm looking at houses in Florida.
All right. Now we're talking. Yeah. Let us know when you get that. I want to come visit. I want to see, I think January, February is a good time to visit you. in Florida.
Right. And Antonio was, he was open to it too. We were just being open. We were walking that process, right, of what you all talk about too, the ask, seek, knock, look, okay, is this it? Is that it? Nope, that's
Right.
not it. That door's closing and whatever it may be. So to make a long story short, I was actually in Florida visiting with my kids down there and my family down there. Antonio was not there. We had looked at this house online, went and looked at it in person, did a FaceTime call with Antonio, and bottom line was we were making an offer on this house in Florida without Antonio seeing it in person, which has never happened and not like how we normally function, and put the offer on the home. It was accepted, went through the inspection process, and long story short, discovered that is not the home that God has for us. Had the confirmation on that. The door was shut. And again, no disappointment. It wasn't like, oh, this was everything I ever wanted. No, it just, the way that it happened, we were at peace with that. And shortly thereafter, we were at a vacation home on a lake that ended up being about a mile from where we live now. And I remember clearly sitting at the dining table in that home when we had our papers out and our notes and we were praying and we were looking at Florida homes and figuring out, what's it going to cost, because we aren't living there yet. Obviously, we weren't going to be moving there. And so thinking like, okay, we'll have to pay somebody to, take care of the pool and take care of the lawn. And it's twice a week in the summertime in Florida, all these things, writing out all these things and praying about it, getting very detailed. And then not knowing that the Lord had this home and this property for us a mile from where that.
Yeah. And then again, and I'm just going to highlight what you're saying so that our audience understands what we say about processing is that, and you said it, ask, seek, and knock, seeking God's will. What the ask is always the same. What do you have to say about this? And then 2, seek it, and you look and look and look, and you found one in Florida. Hey, this could be it. And you felt good about it. And it wasn't, you were in disagreement, you were in unity and felt good about it. And God's saying, go forward. And then now you're at what's called the knocking stage. And that is this specifically the one that we think it is? I mean, you thought it was, and is this specifically the one? And now we got to do an inspection, and then God shut the door, even at that stage. And again, how you're viewing it is, okay, all right, no problem. We get it, no problem. And you weren't. And this is what happens, and what you guys didn't do. People would say, well, wait a minute. I went all this way down all this path, and he said no. Why didn't he say no earlier than this? Mm-hmm. And God says, well, first of all, there's no system to it, 1, and 2, there's something I'm teaching you along the way, and it's timing. Mm-hmm. And you go back and you're looking now at homes at this vacation spot, and what happens next?
So one thing that, it was a vacation spot, but where I was looking at properties, it didn't look like a vacation. So the day before we came here, I was in another place with just myself, and there were like 200 people in front of the property. And the other thing was that, the word says, in part we prophesy, and in part, I'm not sure that.
We know.
In part we know, and in part we prophesy.
Right.
So if we know the Bible has already the content, we don't need a revelation, because right there. If we don't, then the revelation is needed. And the part that I knew is that when looking around, I was thinking, this is not a place that I would go to work and leave my wife by herself.
Thank you.
So that was very clear to me. And looking at 200 people, I said no.
They were all lined up to see it too. So
and it's much closer to my work. And when we came here, we were the only ones. And we bought for less than it was listed for. And after the inspection, we had another discount. And then later on, the neighbors and other people asked us, how did you guys get this property?
And how did you even find this property? Because the number of acres that we have is not an easy thing to find in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Well, we're at the end of our first session. We want to pick this up and actually have you go back a little bit. How did you exactly find this specific property, and how did that confirm for you? And you kind of gave us a hint, is that in a sense only God could have shown you this. because it wasn't, thank you so much for both of you. What Kathy and I always enjoy, and we see it in you, is we do see what we call the life of shalom over you. There's a peace about you. There's a joy about you. And particularly having gone through probably one of the most difficult things of anybody's life is moving, just moving in general, but finding a specific place that both of you say yes to and is God's will. What a beautiful thing. And so thank you for representing that to us. And we look forward to hearing more detail on the story and hope everybody understands how beautiful it is to receive and hear God's will. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing I'll just highlight is, like Rich said here, you guys are a great example of what it looks like to walk in joy in the middle of the adventure too. And even with the open and closed doors and looking and asking and seeking and knocking, the joy never, and I can bear witness to this because I was walking life with Diane in this, the joy never diminished. It was really an expectation of, I wonder what God's going to do next.
Right.
And that's such a beautiful example in both of you and how you relate with the Father. So I love that.
Yes.
But thank you for joining us. We'll have them back next week to continue the story. And to our listeners, if you have any questions, send them in to us at questions@abideministries.com. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yep. See you then.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by Living Waters Abide Ministries. Send us your questions and comments and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.